You wake up, shuffle to the kitchen, and reach for coffee before your eyes fully focus. The first few sips feel amazing. Then, by late morning, you're edgy, hungry, or weirdly tired again, and that night you're still not as sleepy as you should be. If your first cup is supposed to help, why does it sometimes make the whole day harder for your body? If this sounds familiar, you're not imagining it. A lot of people try to eat better, sleep better, and even cut calories, but they still start the day by using caffeine to override a rough morning. It feels productive. Then the crash, the second cup, the afternoon slump, or the restless bedtime shows up. The hidden mechanism is a timing mismatch between caffeine and your natural wake-up signals. Most people miss this. Most people think coffee gives them energy, but early caffeine often just blocks the signal that tells you how tired you still are. This isn't about instant results, it's about shifting signals over time. In this video, I'll show you exactly why your first cup can backfire and how to spot the pattern in your own mornings. Then I'll give you 3 practical changes that can make coffee work with your rhythm instead of against it. Think of adenosine like a pressure gauge that rises the longer you've been awake. As that pressure builds, your brain starts reading it as sleepiness, slower focus, and that heavy feeling behind your eyes. Coffee doesn't create real energy from nowhere. Caffeine mostly blocks adenosine receptors, which means the pressure gauge is still rising, but your brain can't read it as clearly. That's why the first cup can feel like a rescue, especially after a short night or a stressful morning. But the signal didn't disappear. You just turned down your ability to hear it. Now add timing. In the first part of the morning, your body already has a built-in wake-up system. Cortisol naturally rises after waking to help you feel more alert. So if caffeine lands very early in that window, it can add stimulation on top of your natural wake-up rhythm while also making it harder to read how tired you still are underneath. For some people, that feels fine at first. For others, it shows up as jitters, a quicker crash, more hunger later, or the feeling that 1 cup somehow turns into 2. So when this keeps happening, your body learns to lean on a blocked signal instead of a stable rhythm. And that's exactly why you're experiencing energy that feels sharp early, then less reliable later. But why does that pattern hit some mornings harder than others? The answer has a lot to do with what happened the night before, and with a signal most people never think about. Here's where it gets more interesting. Your morning brain is not just waking up, it's negotiating. Adenosine is still carrying the message of prior wake time and sleep debt. Cortisol is trying to get you moving. Then caffeine walks in and cuts off part of the conversation. Picture it like 3 people talking over each other in a small kitchen. One says, "You're still tired." One says, "Get moving." Caffeine says, "Don't listen to the tired one." That's why the first cup can feel clean on one day and chaotic on another. The response depends on how much sleep pressure you carried in, how stressed your system already feels, and how early that caffeine arrives. A simple rule is this: if your first cup feels smoother after light, water, and a little movement, timing may be part of the story. That late morning shakiness or late night alertness isn't just in your head. Patterns like this show up in measurable cortisol and sleep data when caffeine lands at the wrong point in the day. That feeling of being awake but not settled has been measured. In 2005, William Lavallo and colleagues in psychosomatic medicine found that caffeine increased cortisol across the waking day, not just when people were tired. For you, that means an early cup may feel more stimulating without necessarily giving you steadier energy across the whole morning. The response also varied with intake habits, so heavier caffeine users may notice the pattern differently. And that night, when you feel tired but not sleepy enough, that pattern has been measured too. In 2013, Christopher Drake and colleagues in the Journal of Clinical Sleep Medicine found that even caffeine taken 6 hours before bed significantly disrupted sleep. For you, that means later-day caffeine can quietly reduce sleep quality, even if you still fall asleep close to your usual time. The exact effect varies by dose, timing, and sensitivity, so not everyone gets hit the same way. Change the rhythm, then judge the result. What this means is simple. If you want coffee to help your energy instead of scrambling it, you need to change the timing pattern first. And here are 3 ways to do exactly that, starting today. Start with a delay, not a removal. This is the part most people resist, but it's often the most revealing. If you usually drink coffee within the first 15 minutes of waking, push it back by 60 to 90 minutes for the next 7 days. That gives your natural wake-up signals more room to do their job before caffeine starts blocking adenosine. Many people notice a calmer first hour and fewer jitters the same day. After 1 to 2 weeks, energy often feels more even across the morning. This does not force fat loss overnight. It helps shift the signal pattern over time. If you have reflux, anxiety, or you're very caffeine sensitive, start with a shorter delay and test gradually. These changes tend to work better when the next lever supports the same rhythm. Then look at what happens before the cup. Light, water, and a little movement can change how caffeine lands. Go outside for a few minutes if you can, drink some water, and get your body moving before coffee. Nothing extreme. A short walk, a few squats, even pacing while you get ready counts. The reason this helps is simple. You're giving your brain a cleaner wake-up sequence instead of asking caffeine to do all the work at once. Some people notice their first cup feels smoother within a day. After 1 to 2 weeks, the craving for an immediate rescue often drops. This is not a magic fix. It supports better signals that build with repetition. If you have mobility limits, use whatever movement feels safe and realistic. Stack this with the next change. Here's the part many people miss. Your first cup affects your second decision. If the first coffee is very early, on an empty stomach, and followed by a long gap without food, the day can turn more reactive. A better starting point is to decide your caffeine cutoff before the day gets busy. For many people, stopping by late morning or around 6 to 8 hours before bed is a useful rule. This targets the same mechanism from the other end, because it lowers the chance that an early caffeine pattern turns into more caffeine later in the day, when sleep is more likely to take the hit. In the first day, you may notice less evening restlessness. After 1 to 2 weeks, sleep pressure often feels more normal at night. This won't change your body overnight. It helps your system stop chasing stimulation across the whole day. If you're pregnant, have insomnia, high blood pressure, panic symptoms, or take stimulant medication, be more conservative and talk with your clinician about timing. A few groups need a more careful version of this. That includes people with anxiety, panic symptoms, reflux, insomnia, pregnancy, uncontrolled blood pressure, diabetes, or anyone using stimulant medication. If caffeine brings on chest pain, repeated palpitations, severe sleep disruption, faintness, or unusual spikes in blood pressure, it is worth talking with a clinician. And if your response changes slowly, that does not mean you're doing it wrong. For many people, especially with higher body weight or more metabolic stress, these signals shift more gradually. One quick safety note here. This is general science education, not personal medical advice. If you have a medical condition, take medication, or deal with sleep, blood pressure, reflux, anxiety, or glucose issues. Talk with your clinician before changing your caffeine routine. The real issue is not that coffee is bad. It's that timing can turn a useful tool into a signal blocker. When your first cup lands too early, it can mask sleep pressure, stack on top of your natural wake-up rhythm, and make the rest of the day more reactive. That is why these changes work better together. A short delay, a cleaner wake-up sequence, and a firm caffeine cutoff all support the same system instead of pulling it in different directions. And this pattern doesn't stop with coffee. A lot of everyday health advice works or fails because of timing, sequence, and the signals your body is already sending before you try to override them. So, if you want more videos that break down the hidden biology behind common habits and turn confusing health advice into clear steps you can actually use, subscribe and keep following this series. That's where this channel can really help.